Hello Moto GP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez returned to Sepang after months away and delivered a solid set of runs. But the headline was the gap in the sprint simulation to younger brother Alex. Below dives into what it reveals about his form, the GP26 and Ducati's preseason priorities. Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola publicly praised Francesco Bagnaia's Sepang test pace while rumors swirl about the Italian's 2027 options. Below is a concise analysis of what it means for Bagnaia, Ducati, Aprilia and the rider market. Honda's boss Alberto Puig has finally broken his silence on the swirl of talk linking Fabio Quartararo to the Japanese squad for 2027. With Sepang testing still fresh and the transfer market already warming up, Puig's message was cautious and procedural. Lots of conversations are happening across the paddock, but Honda's immediate priority remains its present riders. Former MotoGP champion Jorge Lorenzo watched the Sepang test closely and came away with a blunt take: Ducati looks sharper than the rest. Below R2 explains what it means for the paddock going into 2026. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Sepang's sprint sims give the paddock a rough, race distance snapshot, and the numbers were telling. Marc finished the 10-lap sprint simulation some seconds adrift of Alex's best, a gap that looks big on the timesheets even if test conditions, fuel, tires, setup, vary. It was not bad but 3 seconds slower than Alex, so Marc's candid shrug frames it perfectly. He's not panicking, but he's honest. The stopwatch shows room for work. That transparency sets expectations. Speed is there, but relative performance under sprint conditions still needs trimming. Marc's sprint run wasn't an all-out barnstormer, it was structured. He used the simulation to verify tire behavior and race balance rather than chase a headline lap. In test week terms, that's disciplined and useful data gathering. It was a good sprint race simulation and, as we already predicted, it was not extremely fast. But we finished in a good way. I was riding in a good way. So we can say it was a busy day, but we did all the things that was in the plan. Mission accomplished. The team ticked boxes. The next step is turning that tidy simulation into consistently quicker race pace. Ducati trialed new aero pieces at Sepang and Marquez was upfront about the trade-off, benefits in some areas, instability in others. New aerodynamics change the bike's balance, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. The ones I felt better with during the 3 days are the ones that I did the sprint with. But still I need to understand more in the Thailand, especially on the aerodynamic side. That's a clear program note. Sepang filtered options, but Burum will be where fine decisions get made. Aero brings potential gains, but also questions that only a few more test days will answer. Testing is a two-edged sword. Try new parts, learn fast, and sometimes crash. Marquez didn't hide the cost of experimentation. A changed balance can catch out even the very best. During the morning, I tried a different aero package and I crashed in turn 1 because the bike balance changed a lot. The crash was a blunt reminder that development risks are real. The upside: the team now knows which configurations require more caution or different setup strategies. Overall, Marc's tone mixes realism with quiet confidence. He's back on the bike, getting laps, and the speed signs are encouraging, but clarity on aero and race balance will define Ducati's early season choices. Sepang was a useful step. Burum and the Thai test are the next decisive chapters. I feel very similar, honestly speaking. That short line says a lot. Physically and mentally he's close to his old self, and now it's mainly a matter of translating that feeling into sharper, repeatable pace. Sepang gave Ducati answers and fresh questions. Marc Márquez returned with good baseline speed and precise feedback. Aero choices can both help and hurt. Sprint pace must be sharpened, and a measured, methodical approach is on show. Expect Ducati to use the Thailand test to narrow down aero choices and prioritize consistency so that by the first race the GP26 is not only fast, but predictable. At Sepang, Massimo Rivola didn't just praise his own team. He singled out Pecco Bagnaia's sprint simulation, the kind of public compliment that fuels speculation. Rivola's words read both as genuine praise and as a subtle marker in the transfer market chess game, flattering a top talent while signaling Aprilia's interest. "I'm glad that Pecco is back so strong here." That short sentence does a lot of work. It recognizes Bagnaia's return to form, raises Aprilia's profile as a possible landing spot, and keeps the market talking, without Rivola committing to any deal. Rivola framed Aprilia's 2026 package as improved but realistic. Noali has closed gaps, yet the grid as a whole has moved forward. His tone was measured, proud of progress, but aware that Ducati remains the benchmark and that opportunities will present themselves in a crowded market. "I am happy about the fact that the 26 Aprilia is better than the 25. When asked about rider targets, Rivola didn't shut the door on any options. He emphasized flexibility and contingency planning. That kind of language is standard for a team actively shaping next season's roster while keeping negotiating leverage. "We have Plan B, Plan C and D. Aprilia is preparing for several scenarios, from retaining current riders to courting proven names, and they want everyone in the paddock to know they're ready to move fast." Bagnaia himself added fuel to the story with a neatly timed line at Sepang. He acknowledged having great opportunities on the table and suggested a decision was near. That's the kind of public tease that keeps suitors active and media cycles hot. "On the table in front of me I have great opportunities, and I will decide very soon." It's a diplomatic, non-committal answer that preserves leverage for Bagnaia, and increases pressure on Ducati and any rival suitors to make attractive, timely offers. Rivola also placed Aprilia's progress in the context of a grid where everyone has improved. Ducati still leads, but Honda, KTM and others are stronger. That assessment frames Aprilia's recruitment interest as part sporting ambition, part strategic market positioning. "But I would say everybody improved. We saw Honda very fast, Ducati being the reference again, KTM better than last year. So honestly, I think it's going to be quite an interesting championship." Aprilia expects a tighter, more exciting title fight, and wants to be ready with bike development and, if possible, reinforced rider lineups. Rivola's Sepang praise for Bagnaia was both sincere and strategic. It celebrates the rider's pace, signals Aprilia's ambitions, and keeps the transfer market heat high. With Buram and early season tests still to come, expect teams to press on with both technical development and behind-the-scenes contract work, and listen for the next public hint from Bagnaia, because he's telegraphing that a choice is close. Headlines suggested Quartararo had already signed to move to Honda in 2027. Puig didn't confirm any deal. Instead, he framed the moment as the usual off-season marketplace where everybody is talking to everybody. That underlines how early this negotiation season is and why rumors often run ahead of facts. "Well, at this moment, I can tell you, everybody is talking to everybody." Puig was clear about the team's immediate focus: secure a solid start to 2026 by backing the riders already under contract. That means development, testing and stability come before headline-grabbing signings, a pragmatic stance while the new season's data arrives from Sepang and Buram. But nothing is clear, and the only thing that is clear for Honda at this moment is that we have to support our current riders, and this is what we are going to do. One theme Puig repeated was timing. Contract talks are accelerating and teams now start conversations much earlier than in the past. That's why speculation grows fast. But early interest is not the same as a signed deal, and Puig reminded viewers that many options remain open for manufacturers and riders alike. It's true that this time of year is coming earlier all the time, this process. With LCR already locking in Zarco and Morera for 2027, Honda's factory seats are the ones under the spotlight. Puig acknowledged the pressure riders feel when contracts are unresolved, and that several riders, not only the usual names, are effectively fighting for their future this year. That competition is part of the paddock's reality. It's a year where contracts are finished. But honestly speaking, all of the paddock is in the same situation, not only the riders. Finally, Puig noted the team's on-track momentum. Honda enjoyed a solid Sepang test, and riders like Joan Mir praised the RC213D. That performance gives Honda a stable platform from which to evaluate both development and personnel decisions, reinforcing Puig's message that results, not rumors, will drive any 2027 choices. Of course, Fabio is a fantastic rider, like many others, and at some point, Honda will have to see what is best for their own team. Puig's line was simple and steady: expect talk, expect early maneuvering. But for now, Honda will focus on the job at hand. The paddock will keep spinning transfer stories, yet the real moves and announcements will follow testing and results. From the grandstand, Lorenzo saw something that made him uneasy for the rest of the field. The GP26 looked composed and effective across a variety of runs. That's the scariest sign for rivals, when a bike isn't just fast for a lap but visibly consistent in different programs. Well, unfortunately, it looks like Ducati has clearly made a strong step forward. Lorenzo kept coming back to one characteristic: smoothness. In modern Moto GP, being able to exit corners with a stable, progressive throttle, without upsetting the chassis, turns tenths into seconds over a race. If Ducatis are genuinely smoother mid-corner and on the exit, that helps braking stability, corner speed and tire life. They are so smooth at maximum angle, with 20% of throttle, but also when they pick up the bike, they keep this smoothness for a long time. Lorenzo pointed to specific hardware changes he could spot trackside: a lower rear device and big front wing elements. Those tweaks aren't cosmetic. They change the bike's balance, reduce wheelies and let riders apply power earlier and more cleanly out of corners. On a long straight, less wheelie equals more usable acceleration. They improved the rear device at the start, but also in the exit of the corners looks very low, super low, and this for sure helps acceleration, to not wheelie. Lorenzo even compared Ducati's front aero to Formula 1 style downforce, an image that underlines how aggressive development has become. More downforce up front helps steering and stability under acceleration, but it also forces teams to weigh gains versus compromised agility in other parts of the track. We also saw some very big wings on the front of the bike, like a Formula 1 car almost, and this downforce helps a lot to keep the bike very stable in acceleration. The test didn't just show Ducati's gains, it showed where others must respond. Lorenzo gave credit where due: Aprilia and Honda are not so bad. But the message to the paddock is clear: Ducati have forced the bar higher and the rest must accelerate development, or risk being spectators in some races. Expect an intense pre-season development push now. Aprilia is not so bad. Honda also made a very nice step. Lorenzo's Sepang verdict is a wake-up call dressed as analysis. Ducati looks stronger, their package looks cleaner, and the onus is on rivals to answer. Sepang was only the first test, but it has already shaped the early narrative for 2026. Ducati lead the charge, and everyone else has work to do. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!